That snow falling overnight. Let's give you a live look at the roads right now. This is what you can expect if you are about to head out the door. 94 westbound in Rogers, and you can see there is that snow coating the roads, kind of blowing around, but we seem to be driving at a pretty decent speed, which is great. However, we know as more of you head out the road on the roads, it's going to slow things down. There are some slick spots. We're going to keep an eye on it for you coming up. Well, we had a camera inside the Anoka County Highway Department at shift change last night. Crew leader Jim Plemon says this storm threw a curveball for them, coming first as freezing rain, then shifting to snow overnight. So they started spreading salt and liquid brine.
As long as we get the road scraped up and get the product down, which we're applying salt right now, and the temperatures are pretty good, where it should work pretty quick.
Light holiday traffic helped yesterday, but there were still hundreds of crashes and spinouts statewide. We're going to continue to track road conditions all morning. And remember, any pictures that you took of the snow and ice, we would love to see them. A lawyer for the Florida teenager charged with killing 17 students says his client will plead guilty if the death penalty is off the table.
Nikolas Cruz stayed silent in court as he appeared for a procedural hearing yesterday. He is charged in last week's deadly shooting at Douglas High School, school he was expelled from. The judge did not make a decision on the maximum penalty and also said she was in favor of keeping documents open to the public.
As funeral services started for victims of the shooting, many teenagers are trying to take the fight for gun control into their own hands. Students in Washington, D.C. staged a die-in protest outside the White House yesterday. The president, however, is at his Florida Golf Club. Meanwhile, survivors of the Florida shooting are organizing a nationwide demonstration scheduled for March 24th in Washington, D.C., called the March for Our Lives. And later this week, many will travel to the Florida state capitol to deliver petitions calling for a ban on assault weapons. The call to action by Florida students mirrors what has happened after other mass shootings.
But in the past, calls for change faded and ultimately failed. As Esme Murphy reports, student survivors insist this time will be different, and they're taking aim at the NRA.
From here on, we are creating a badge of shame for any politicians who are accepting money from the NRA.
The issue of NRA donations has already proved slippery for one major Minnesota political figure. Last fall, in the aftermath of the Las Vegas shooting that killed 58, Congressman Tim Walz, the leading DFL candidate for governor, donated nearly $19,000 of NRA contributions to a veterans group. Walz's move came after the donations were flagged by two of his Democratic opponents, who show no sign of letting up their attacks.
The bottom line is he took the money.
Democratic Congressman Colin Peterson and Republican Congressman Eric Paulson have each received $20,000 in NRA donations in recent years. Political analyst Larry Jacobs says for Peterson, who represents a conservative rural district, the donations will not be an issue. But for Paulson, who represents a more moderate suburban district, the donations could hurt.
The question, though, is will this energy, this mobilization, and the pressure that's being put on politicians who take money from the NRA, will that last? Or will it fade, as we've seen again and again after these horrific incidents?
As for whether the youth-driven outrage will spread locally, we did find one GoFundMe page raising money to send Sibley High students to the Washington March. Esme Murphy, WCCO 4 News.
Public records show that two other Minnesota members of Congress, Republicans Jason Lewis and Tom Emmer, have received donations from the NRA. They each received less than $4,000.
Minnesota lawmakers are getting ready to start work again at the state capitol for the next 3 months. It's Governor Mark Dayton's final year in office, and he'll again square off against Republicans who control the House and Senate. Agreeing on Minnesota's tax code with the recently passed federal tax cuts may get top priority when the legislature returns. Tackling opioid abuse, funding millions of dollars in public construction, and fixing the state's troubled new computer system for driver's licenses are also on the agenda. And all eyes will be on Republican Senate President Michelle Fischbach as Democrats challenge her dual role as lieutenant governor. Stay with WCCO for continuing coverage of Session 2018. Lawmakers have until mid-May to wrap up.